So far, we've used a bare minimum of structure in our website here. We have the HTML, the whole document is surrounded in an HTML tag. There's a head tag. There's a body tag for everything below the head tag for the entire contents of our site. And we have some figure tags that surround our images. Now, generally, we are going to be breaking up our sites into a lot more subdivisions. And those elements are semantic. In other words, they tell the computer a little bit about what it is that it's looking at. Originally, all we had to break up a web page was something called a div, which was a generic container. So you would have, you might have 20 divs on a page, and the only way you could actually indicate to somebody what the contents of those divs were to then add IDs to them or classes to them. But when they created HTML5, they created a whole bunch of other containers to, well, maybe not so much replace the div, but to create additional types of div that were already that are already semantically encoded. And so the elements, some of the elements that they created, this is not all of the elements, but some of the elements include nav, which is going to be for containing navigation elements. We have header, which is different from head. The header is either at the top of a page or at top of a section. We have main, which is the main content of the document. We have sections, which are as a thematic grouping of content, typically with a heading. So for instance, there could be an introduction section, a content section, and a contact information section, and so on. There's articles, which specify independent, self-contained content. An article should make sense on its own and should be possible to read it independently. It's like in a magazine, you'd have an article, and so that would surround an article. Or if you could have several small articles, and those several small articles could be in a section. And so say the section would be about things to do in Washington, D.C., and then you could have articles about the National Mall, about the Washington Monument, about the White House, and so on. There is something called an aside, which defines some content that is related to an article or a section, but can be read separately. So say you did an article about the White House, you can have an aside that talks about the White House at Christmas, something like that. We have figure, which we've talked about, and fig caption, which is the caption that goes with the figure. Technically, fig caption probably, well, okay, go on. And then finally, we have footer, which defines either the end of a page or the end of a section. Okay, and these can be further defined. So it used to be that everything got defined through IDs and classes. These elements can be also further defined using IDs or classes. So let's talk about adding some more semantic containers to this website we've been working on. So we're going to go back to 2.5 and we're going to do File, Save As, 2.6. Now, this is going to be a little more difficult than I'd like, just because it would be better to actually develop this structure prior to building your page. We've already built a lot of the page, so we're going back and then adding structure after the page has been started. But I wanted to keep the page as simple to begin with as possible. So we'll deal with it as we can. First thing we're going to do is we're going to, just a second. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do, our body is going to be everything that happens within the browser. But this document, we don't want this document to spread out all the way across the page. It's already doing that. You share, let me go back to my Chrome. This isn't exactly the right document, but you can see how this expands like that, and that is the body element expanding all the way across. If we want this document to be narrower and then have sort of a background area back here, which is what I'm moving towards, what we're going to need to do is have a box within the overall body box that restricts the site and keeps it from spreading all the way across. Share. So what we're going to do after body is we're going to actually use a div, and I'm going to give it an ID equals wrap. Okay. Okay, but we can't leave the closing element of this div all the way up there. That won't really be workable. So I'm going to Command X, and I'm going to move all the way to the bottom of our document. And right above body, I'm going to paste this closing div. And because I might use other divs somewhere in this document, I'm also going to give myself a note. And that'll just make it easier for me to understand what's happening later on. And then I'm going to select everything inside of that wrap. All the way up to there. And if I hold Command and I hit a right bracket, you'll see that it indents everything. So Command right bracket will tab elements in when we need to do that. Next, we're going to add a header. Again, delete X. And this header, I'm going to wrap around everything all the way before the biography. So I'm going to hit the header. Header needs to be tabbed in 1 so it lines up with the rest of the header. Then everything within header, I'm going to command right bracket so that tabs in. So you can see the header starts there, ends there. Everything inside is within the header. Then we're going to add nav. And if you've been following the coursework on LinkedIn Learning, we're going to also add an ARIA label. ARIA label equals main menu. And I made a little bit of a mess there because I wasn't paying attention. Command X. And I'm going to move that down here below the rest of the nav. Then I'm going to select that, command right bracket and indent it. So that's our navigation for this site. And then the rest of this information all fits within the header. Okay, so our header contains navigation, the figure photo of Walter Gropius, and then all of his information and contact information. Okay, next. I'm going to come down here, and the biography and the projects are all part of what I would consider to be the main content. So I'm going to type main and X, scroll all the way down. So there's the main, closing. So we have a main, the main is different from the wrap in that the main and the header are both within the wrap. And so I'm going to come all the way back up here again. And all of those parts within there, command right bracket. And then we have 2 sections. So section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this ID from that H3, command X, and I'm going to move it up to the section. So this section is now semantically, well, it's commented out as being the biography section. Command X, go down to the bottom of, or right before projects, Command B, section, tab. Then I'm going to select everything in this section. Come on. Command right bracket. So section contains all of this biography information. Biography section contains the biography section all the way to there. Then I'm going to create another section. Section, And I'm going to take the ID off of that H3 and move it to this section. So everything within that section is now part of the ID projects. Command X, move all the way to the bottom. Before main, there's section, tab it in, select everything within the section. Come on. Command right bracket. So that's all indented. Okay. So now we have the body of our document. Inside the body, we have a div marked wrap. Inside that div marked wrap, we have the header and the main. And then within the header itself, we have the nav, the figure, some more information. Technically, we could probably put a block around that. At this moment, we don't really need to. And then in the main section, we have a section for biography and a section for projects. And then finally, down at the bottom, we're going to add a footer. And inside that footer, we're going to add, give me a second. Let me find where my cursor has gone off to. I hate it when the cursor just disappears. Got it. All right. Let's add a P element. And from site a href equals wiki.org/wiki/Walter_Gropius target equals quote underscore blank greater than close A, close site, close P, command save. And if we go to our new, if we go back to our document and share and we hit refresh, well, this isn't the right one. Hang on a second while I 3.6 refresh. If I scroll to the bottom, text and images from Wikipedia. but you actually don't see any other changes because we have added structure, but we have not done anything with the CSS to make that structure happen. So for this Sunday, what I want you to do is I want you to add the information from the head. I want you to add this additional structure information. I want you to then post that to the assignments. There is also a quiz. I guess it's not really a quiz. It's really just asking how the class has been going so far, whether you've been understanding things. Finally, the one other, and then for next class, next Tuesday, what I want you to do is read over next Tuesday, and you're going to pick a Wikipedia article, and then you're going to code that Wikipedia article like we've been coding this Wikipedia article to give you an opportunity to actually use what we've been learning on something um, a little bit different. So I look forward to seeing you next class.